It's a common experience, I think, to be given a set of instructions, whether it's for a recipe or assembling furniture, and then find that real life just doesn't quite line up. But what happens when those instructions are medical guidelines designed for your health, and your body doesn't seem to respond the way they suggest?
That's exactly the core challenge discussed in the article, Why Adrenal Insufficiency Requires Context, Not Protocols Alone, from My Adrenal Life. Many people living with adrenal insufficiency find themselves asking, quote, "Am I doing this wrong? Why doesn't this work the way it's supposed to?" End quote, even when they're being incredibly diligent. There's this growing realization that what looks good on paper often differs significantly from what happens in your own body.
And it seems that this tension isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a fundamental aspect of managing adrenal insufficiency. The article points out that while medical guidelines provide an essential foundation, they're designed to apply broadly across populations. But adrenal insufficiency, as it notes, isn't experienced at the population level, it's experienced in the body, which is profoundly individual.
Precisely. The guidelines are there for a crucial reason: safety. They establish typical medication patterns, general timing, and standard approaches to illness and stress, creating a framework to reduce risk for many people. But the article explains that cortisol, which is central to this condition, isn't a static hormone. In a healthy system, it changes constantly in response to the time of day, physical activity, emotional stress, illness, and sleep disruption, and circadian rhythm.
So in adrenal insufficiency, where that natural responsiveness is disrupted and cortisol is being replaced externally, you're essentially trying to mimic a dynamic system with a more fixed approach. I can see how that would create a mismatch. What are the specific factors that cause this gap, as the article calls it, between what the body needs and what's been taken?
That gap comes from several places. Even when two people follow the exact same protocol, their experiences can differ dramatically. This is due to variations in how medication is absorbed and processed, individual sensitivity to cortisol levels, the variability of daily stress, activity, and environment, and differences in baseline health or coexisting conditions. The body no longer automatically adjusts in real time, leading to moments where the planned dose might not align with immediate physiological demand.
That sounds incredibly challenging. It forces people into a very difficult decision. As the article highlights, do I follow the protocol or do I follow how I feel? It must be exhausting to constantly interpret symptoms that don't quite fit expectations.
It certainly is. The article suggests that this tension isn't a failure, but an inherent part of managing a condition that demands both structure and awareness. Protocols are vital for structure and risk reduction, but real life isn't consistent. Stress changes, illness is unpredictable, and energy demands shift constantly. There will be moments when the protocol feels like too much or not enough, or simply not aligned with what the body is signaling in that moment.
And for caregivers, I imagine that mental fatigue and pressure to get it right can be even more intense, especially when making decisions in real time before all the facts are clear. The article emphasizes that clinical guidance for adrenal insufficiency is built with safety as the priority, aiming to prevent adrenal crisis and manage replacement levels. But it also states there is a narrow balance for cortisol, which isn't static. How does this narrow, constantly shifting balance complicate things for fixed protocols?
It means that fixed protocols simply cannot fully account for real-time physiological demand. Cortisol needs change significantly in response to physical stress, emotional stress, illness, and even sleep disruption. Even the best designed guidelines can't predict every daily fluctuation or individual response. That's why managing adrenal insufficiency exists at the intersection of clinical guidance, individual physiology, and daily context. Protocols provide the foundation, but context is what makes them usable.
So if strict adherence to protocols isn't always the answer, what are the supportive next steps people can take? How do you begin to integrate this idea of context into daily management without it becoming another source of pressure?
The article suggests starting by simply noticing patterns, how your body responds, what feels consistent versus what varies, and when context seems to shift your needs. This process isn't just physical, it's also about letting go of the idea that everything can be predicted, reducing self-blame when things don't match expectations, and releasing the pressure to follow protocols perfectly. Variability isn't a mistake, and needing context isn't a weakness. It's about understanding, not just doing.
It sounds like it's a journey of learning how protocols and personal experience can work together, rather than being in opposition. The idea that you don't have to manage this perfectly to manage it well, and that a thoughtful, steady, and sustainable approach is enough, is a powerful takeaway.
Absolutely. Over time, that awareness grows, and context often begins to support safety instead of complicating it. Understanding variability can reduce pressure, and recognizing patterns can reduce second-guessing. It's about understanding more, which helps make what feels uncertain become more manageable. The complexity of adrenal insufficiency, influenced by timing, stress, environment, and individual responses, is precisely why each person's experience matters so much.